So coming to Pakistan, obviously surviving a little bit of a scare against Netherlands. शुरू में 3 विकेटें जल्दी गिर गई थी अरमान और मेरी तो फटी हुई थी. I'm not gonna lie. When Babar gets out, I know he was the second wicket to fall, but whenever Babar gets out, like as a Pakistani, you always fear the worst. And today, obviously, our top order, like with our openers, the struggles continued. Fakhr just nudging a cheap dismissal straight back to Logan Van Beek for the first wicket, got in bowled, and then Imam struggling with a short ball, and in the middle, Babar just came out and did not look himself. Like, if I'm being honest, like he looked nervous, not something I associate with Babar, and he sort of seemed to get stuck at the crease after losing that early wicket. Like, you're playing Netherlands, be a little bit positive, take the attack to them, something that we saw later on from Rizwan and Saud Shakeel, but he appeared to be a little tentative, and when he did go for the shot, he pulled it straight to mid wicket there. So again, not the start that we wanted at all to this World Cup, and we were fearing the worst at 38 for 3. But then
The thing that I get annoyed with most in the top order, uh, when is Imam ul Haq going to live up to the tag of a world class opener? I think he's a really good player, and there's no question about his place in the side for me. That I'm not going there. That's not where I'm going with it. But how many matches can you remember where his impact has single-handedly, or not even single-handedly, but just won us the game? I can't remember too many. This guy performs a lot, but I can't remember too many impact innings from him. And now with him being in form, his intent was good. I like that he was trying to play aggressively, but with him in form, we need him to step up now. If Fakhr is not performing well, if Abdullah comes in, he becomes a senior partner. Then if Babar is, Babar's the captain. You have to understand there's a lot of pressure on him as well. You can't expect from him every game. Imam has to take that step up now and live up to that 50 average. And I'm waiting for him. I want to see that from him. I want to see him. I don't care if it's a century. I don't care if it's a 40. I want to see impact from him going forward. And I want to see him take that responsibility and play the match winning innings that we know he can, but he's yet to show at this stage.
I think even with Fakhr being a little bit out of form, like maybe just Imam coming out and taking the pressure off him by taking the attack to the bowlers in 1 or 2 games. I know
Which
he always has.
He tried to do it in this game, to be fair to
Exactly,
him.
he tried to do, but then he gets that short ball that he tends to struggle with. They planned it well, to be honest. Something I'd want to credit Netherlands on. Like they came in with a plan. They bowled wicket to wicket. Their captain really impressed me with his bowling changes, with his field setting. And then obviously with Pakistan 38 for 3, we had Rizwan and Saud Shakeel on World Cup debut for both of them, because Rizwan did not play the
last
2019
second,
World Cup. But
last second addition to the squad, coming in and batting like a typical Karachi Londa from the streets, picking singles, picking gaps, being unorthodox, hitting the ball over the top. You saw a lot of swag in his batting, and a lot of the stuff you associate with Karachi batsmen, you saw with Saud Shakeel, which is amazing to have someone like that in the team after such a while.
what's even more impressive is that that's not really what we in our minds were associating with Saud Shakeel up until like even a month ago, right? When we were talking about potential candidates for that number 5 position, like we were lamenting the fact that, oh, we need someone who to perform the way Haris Sohail did in 2019, and we didn't have that. And Agha Salman, to be fair, was doing a very good job, and like obviously they made their call on Saud and it paid off today. But the shots that he played, the aggressive intent he showed, again, being 3 wickets down in a World Cup game against Netherlands, we have seen Pakistani batters over the years just go into their shell, right? And then struggle to like a 180 score or like a par total. But they showed the intent, and obviously Rizwan straight away, first ball, sweeps it for 4. That is exactly what we want to see. That is like what this new Pakistan way is supposed to be, and these two embody it. If no one else, Saud Shakeel has shown already that, hey, I'm going to own this approach, I'm going to bat this way, and I'm going to get into the team, and I'm going to take the team to the next level.
And if anything, what you saw in his batting was like it scares you, but you would rather see this than the alternative of this. He had a little bit of that arrogance there. कि मैं मतलब तुम्हें लग रहा था कि यार ये अभी कुछ भी try कर लेगा, which watching in a bigger match might be something that scares you a bit. But I like the bravado with which he was playing. I mean, at one point, वो wide ball fifth stump के लेके वो पता नहीं किस तरीके से he was.
And
This
the
guy's got
presence
a
of
lot of
mind
swag.
to find out that there was the fielders outside the circle, get the free hit, bang that for 6, like really, really positive signs for Pakistan and for Saud Shakeel.
That's another very, very Karachi trait. You see, like that game awareness.
The street smart.
the street smartness, which has been lacking for a while. I'm not trying to run a Karachi agenda here. It's just refreshing to have somebody who's like cut from the same cloth as someone like a Mia Dad or Sarfraz in terms of how they play their game and go about their game. And I think he is a breath of fresh air within this team, and it goes to prove that, man, like, we watch PSL and we try to scout for talent and look at guys who we think could fit good in certain situations in a 1 day game. But a guy like Saud shows that sometimes you've got to trust your first class system as well. This guy scored runs in first class cricket. He's put in better part of a decade in domestic cricket, and he's earned this opportunity. He's technically correct. He knows how to bat. He's not like a one of these flash in the pan type guys. I believe he's here to stay. Hopefully, inshallah. Hope he continues to play well. And again, I love the intent he's brought into the team.
He looks to have a great head on his shoulders. Like, I really enjoyed the interview he gave after the game. He said that I saw that Babar and Rizwan were batting at 3 and 4, so the only chance I had to get into the Pakistan team was at number 5. So I started preparing myself to play that role because I knew I would have to play this way to get into the team, and my natural game would not be enough. And he took that initiative, and it's paying off here, and hopefully it continues to do so. And at the other end, we're seeing that consistency from Rizwan at number 4, so really, really good signs for Pakistan there. We just need that top order now to step up because we're getting contributions from the lower order. Of course, that did proceed like there was another mini collapse where we went to 188 for 6 because that's just what we do. Again, I don't even know what to say at this point, but at least Shadab and Nawaz like showed a solid head on their shoulders as well, and like really took responsibility and took the game deep. Where again, then both of them got out as well, but at least we were closer to getting to that 280 total. One last thing.
We're gonna talk about the run out.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about the run out, man. Like, just typically Pakistani, like, I don't know what they were trying to do. Shaheen runs, then Nawaz says no, then Nawaz runs, then he comes down halfway down the wicket, then there's an overthrow, then they try to run on the overthrow and there's a direct hit and suddenly Nawaz is gone. And all I'm asking myself here, man, is why always Nawaz? Like, even when he's not as fault, he always ends up in this position.
Why always me? That's what Nawaz is saying.
But luckily, like, Haris Rauf got a couple of lusty blows at the end, and we got that 286 total.
Shah played a nice little
cameo as well.
Stayed there to the end.
So again, good signs for the batting depth
Haris
there.
Rauf proper TPR player के मतलब वो उसको over बचे हुए उसका कोई concern नहीं. He just wanted to hit a couple of sixes, which he did.
Exactly.
Hit a couple of sixes, walked off.
With Netherlands,
and then you really saw that. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying that those runs that Nawaz and Shadab got, you could see it immediately, filter into their bowling as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think before we go into Pakistan's bowling, I just wanted to shout out like Baz Daleda as well. 4 wickets and then coming out with an excellent knock as well. Someone who, I was excited to see him play because he looks to have the talent. He's only 23 years old. His dad also played for Netherlands, so he has that heritage. He's continuing those traditions there. I'm excited to see him because I think Netherlands, man, like, they have the ingredients to pull off an upset or two in this World Cup. They might 100%. Not have been able to get over the line against Pakistan, but I think when you go later on in the tournament and teams have to win against them and they're sort of defending a total and teams having to chase against them, I could see them really getting a result there. I'm looking at you, South Africa.
Hopefully we don't need it again.
Yeah, hopefully we don't need it again. But they're just coming to our bowling. Like, Netherlands, to be fair to them, they started off really well, 120 for 2 at some point. But I think, like you said, Nawaz and Shadab's batting gave them a little bit of confidence, and you could see that rhythm starting to come back into their bowling. Nawaz kept things tight. Shadab, maybe not at the start of his spell, but towards the end was starting to get a little bit of that movement. He was starting to get that rhythm. The ball was spinning a little bit, and it was a glimpse, but it was a glimpse of the Shadab that we know and love, and hopefully it sets like a good tone for him to get into form later into this tournament. And then, of course, Hassan Ali also showing a lot of confidence in his bowling, getting that first wicket and then coming back towards the end and getting a clean bowled, which of course lifts any bowler's confidence. Exactly. And the one who really broke the chase was Haris Rauf's pace, which again we know against a team like Netherlands is going to be deadly, who don't often get to play that extreme pace, but I don't think it's just them. I feel like he'll continue to be an asset for Pakistan in the middle overs. More importantly, I want to shout out Babar. I think he rotated his bowlers really well. He got Iftikhar in early, If the car got the breakthrough, then he rotated between like a fast bowler at one end and a spinner at the other end, and I think that really lended itself to putting pressure on Netherlands, getting that run rate up to 6.57 and forcing them to go for the big shots that eventually resulted in
Big test for
Pakistan
him
winning this game.
is the big test for him is if he'll be able to replicate this type of thinking against if it's Glenn Phillips and Kane
Mhm.
Williamson,
And it's not
you know,
just for him,
at that
right?
type of
It's a
stage.
test for the batting, the bowling, and the fielding and the captaincy, all because like yes, we beat Netherlands, but like the real question is going to come against like some of these bigger games, starting with Sri Lanka in the next round, who we lost to in the Asia Cup. So it's time to pick up the confidence that we got from this game. Um,
I want to talk about just a quick point about all the bowlers. They all looked like themselves. All of them look like themselves. Shadab, a little bit of a rough start, but even with that wicket he got of Vikram Singh, he changed his angle, and I think he changed his angle and he got him with the googly. The Nawaz bowling really well, tight lines, and even Hassan Ali. His speeds weren't up, but he's been getting the ball with the new ball and with the old ball to come and skid back into the right hander, which is the hallmark of his bowling, and it's the biggest tell into whether he's bowling well or not. You saw him operate around 80 miles per hour, which you and I were finally we got to look at how quick he was bowling, which you couldn't see in the practice games. But I think Hux now with another good game, after another good game, I think he'll have the confidence to kind of rev it up a little bit and get closer to that 140, 145 mark that we associate with him in his prime. And overall good stuff. Shaheen's getting back into a little bit of rhythm. So uh, that's the thing with being a Pakistan fan. It feels more. I like the fact that I think at least I like the fact that we had a little bit of a shaky game and won,
mhm.
going into some of the bigger games, as opposed to if we had beaten them by 200 runs or something like that. Because at this point, you don't want to peak too soon, and two, you want to be battle tested going into some of the bigger games, and to have a little bit of what could have been a banana peel for 75 overs of that game, and to end up on top, it's going to do good for the confidence, albeit that it was against Netherlands, it will be good for the confidence, I think.
So,
Uh,
so going ahead, looking ahead to the Sri Lanka game, which is on Tuesday, again in Hyderabad. I don't think we're going to be making any changes. I think you give Fakhr until the India game. At least that's my opinion. So I think we're going to go in unchanged against Sri Lanka.
I want to stop you there for a second. I want to talk a little bit more on that. Let's say I would give Fakhr the next game as well. If you give Fakhr the next game and he fails, and as a captain, you know he's not going to score,
Mm.
do you put Abdullah Shafiq in against India then? Because I'll tell you why I'm asking this. Because there's two sides of this. You say I'll give Fakhr the extra game. Maybe he'll perform against India, and maybe it's a risk on Abdullah Shafiq's confidence. But the other side is, man, if Abdullah Shafiq's in the damn squad, then you should also give him the belief that you're good enough to go and perform against anyone. And he himself, as a professional, should be ready to step into a game like that against India
That's
if
fair,
need
but the
be.
game
Right?
I agree with that. But the game after India is Australia, so it's going to be the same thing regardless.
No,
I
but
just think
my
that you
logic
need
is that at that stage, if you have Abdullah Shafiq and you're, I'm not saying do this, but I'm saying if they do this, then you give him the rest of the, pretty much the rest of the tournament. Like you give him at least 3 to 4 matches. If you're playing
yeah.
him in that India game, then you have to give
Yeah.
him the next few games
Oh,
after that,
absolutely.
right?
Look, if you the reason why I would give Fakhr the 3 games is because I think that once you make the change, you have to stick with Abdullah for like at least most of the tournament, unless there's like a serious issue there. So that's why I would
Exactly.
give Fakhr 3 games, because if he doesn't perform in any of them, you still have 6 games for Abdullah, and there's enough time for him to come back into form. I think our middle order is batting well enough that we can bro, Fakhr needs to like free himself up. He needs to let go of this pressure. I know it's easier said than done, but like the Sri Lanka game, he needs to go out and attack, express himself, play his natural game, and for even if he needs to force himself into form, like it might be scratchy, but things need to happen.
I'm at that stage with him that I don't want to drop him, but it looks like he needs a rest.
Mm.
Like sometimes sitting out for a couple of games clears your mind. The problem is that we're in a damn World Cup, so like there's no promises with that either that he'll get back in. It's a tough call, but again, we've been saying it for a while, and we're gonna hang on a little bit longer, at least for this one game. You with these pitches especially, you try to squeeze every bit of motivation out you can out of your team management and keep that guy. confident and try to almost will him to perform, get a scratchy 50 if nothing, because if he starts performing, it's a campaign changer. He like
Mm.
a lot of these guys playing well, they'll be a match winner, but for him, if he suddenly gets into form, he could be a tournament winner.
Bro, we saw South Africa get 429 in that game. Fakhar Zaman is the only player in Pakistan squad capable of pushing us to totals like that, which is why I want to give him as much of a run as I can to get him back into form. Obviously, if that's not happening, you have to make the change. I'm not against that, but I think like you give him the 3 games, in my opinion, to get back into form.
Any other concerns you have for the Sri Lanka game?
Obviously, like concerns are there. Like Sri Lanka's spin attack is a lot stronger than what you'll face versus Netherlands, so that's always going to be a concern for Pakistan. We saw that in the Asia Cup as well. I don't know if Tikshana will be fit for them. If he is, like he's someone who's a threat throughout like our lineup. But I think with Saud Shakeel in there, I'm feeling a little bit better about Pakistan. But yeah, this is one of those games where I think like if you want to make the semis, like you should be winning. Like a lot of teams look good. So I think like it could go down to like net run rate. It could go down to like head to head in terms of how you perform against the teams that are playing up against the semifinals. So every result is important here, even though it might look like on the face of it that there's 9 games, so there's not a lot of jeopardy. I think there is in this tournament.
Would you rather play Sri Lanka on like the type of, because you and I discussed that there was a little bit of variance between what we saw in the practice games in Hyderabad compared to what we saw against Netherlands, where we saw like a little bit of reverse swing, a little bit of grip. The reverse swing obviously would really favor our bowlers, and then but if it's slow, it would favor theirs. Would you rather play Sri Lanka on an absolute road like we saw in the practice
I
games, or
think with Hyderabad, what I saw, at least from the first game, is that when the batsman is new to the wicket, it takes a little bit of time to get used to it. But once you get in, like you have the chance to maximize that. And then, like you said, with the reverse swing, like I think our fast bowlers could really get do some damage to Sri Lanka if it's a similar pitch to what it was against the Netherlands. So I wouldn't mind that.